Let's learn more about networking. In this lesson, we'll focus on how to maintain your network sustainably by engaging relationships you've already established and creating new ones. Networking is all about putting yourself out there so that you can form connections with other professionals. For introverts, this professional task can be daunting. Even the most social of extroverts can feel some anxiety at the thought of networking formally for professional purposes. Networking can happen naturally as you realize you have a great connection to a job opportunity through a friend or a family member. But there are other times when you'll need to be proactive when it comes to creating or sustaining your network. So let's discuss ways to develop and sustain that network. First, let's understand the difference between warm and cold contacts. If you already know an individual or have previously communicated with them, they are a warm contact. Reaching out to them is easier because you have some rapport, however small, that's already established. These contacts are going to be friends, family, or acquaintances. Now, on the opposite end, you have cold contacts. So if you've never previously spoken with this individual and you need to make an introduction, they are a cold contact, and you are very likely going to need to send a cold outreach message to them. Cold contacts are individuals you've identified as being potentially helpful, maybe because they have a role that you yourself aspire to have, or they work at a company that you're interested in. You're probably wondering, how do I identify cold contacts? Well, cold contacts are everywhere, both in person and online. But let's focus in person first and how you can engage with people that you meet at networking or social events. Introducing yourself and sharing what you do is going to be important. This can be as simple as saying something along the lines of, "Hi, I'm," say your name, "a data scientist or a data science student. What do you do?" This introduction may not always work in every scenario case, but it's simple and it's easy to remember. Asking what the other person does is also going to give you some insight as to whether or not this is someone you want to follow up with or connect with after the interaction. Next, find a way to follow up. The best way to continue to engage contacts is having a reason to follow up or communicate again. Examples of ways to keep the connection going include saying something like, "Can I set up a time with you to talk more about da 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 da?" Or you could say, "You seem to have a lot of insight about blah blah blah. As a new and aspiring professional in specify your field, I'd really like to ask you a few questions about your experience." Now, in order to do that follow-up, you're probably going to need some contact information. Make a habit of asking new connections, "What's the best way to get in contact with you?" This question allows the contact to decide what the best method is without making them feel uncomfortable if they do not want to share a phone number or their social media. Now, in professional scenarios, you'll want to avoid asking a question like, "Do you have Instagram?" or "Can I add you on Facebook?" As this may feel intrusive for some. Not everyone is comfortable mixing professional with personal social media profiles. However, you can always ask, "Are you on LinkedIn? If so, I'd like to send you a connect request." Okay, let's switch gears to online outreach, which tends to be over messages. First and foremost, introduce yourself and establish why you're reaching out. Put yourself in your recipient's shoes. If someone is calling or emailing you and you've never spoken to them before, you'll likely want to know upfront, "Why are you reaching out to me?" Answer this question in your introduction. You can say something like, "Hi, my name is da da da, and I'm a software engineer completing Lambda School's full stack web track. I was reaching out because I'd like an informational interview. I wanted to hear more about your experience working at your company. I have a professional question related to something I noticed on your LinkedIn profile." Whatever the reason for me reaching out is, I need to go ahead and state it. Now, maybe I reached out because I share a similar experience or background with the individual. Before messaging a new contact, find something in common. Identifying a commonality provides you with a strong icebreaker when messaging out of the blue. This commonality can be as simple as identifying you are both professionals in the same field. Have you worked on a similar product or a project? Are you both from or you've lived in a certain city or area? Our commonalities are ways for us to connect and begin conversations about who we are and our experiences. A lot of this information can be found on public LinkedIn profiles, which makes it appropriate for you to bring up. Now, when you send cold outreach messages, make sure to be concise. A lengthy message from a stranger is likely to feel a little overwhelming, so try to limit your cold outreach messages to 3 to 4 sentences. Lastly, make a call to action in that message. When you are breaking the ice with a cold contact, you're reaching out to introduce yourself, establish a reason for reaching out, and then trying to elicit a response. An easy way to elicit a response is asking a question. This question should not feel like a heavy lift or daunting task. It can be as simple as, would you be opening to answering a few questions about your experience in blah, blah, blah? Happy to send my questions over message or hop on a call if it's easier. Or you could say, hey, if you have 20 minutes in the coming week, I'd love to meet for coffee or talk over the phone to learn more about what steps you took in your own career. One secret to networking, which isn't very revolutionary, in fact, it's quite simple, is to just check in. Whether you are reaching out to a warm contact or new contact, checking in with individuals is what helps us to build a relationship and stay top of mind. For a cold contact, this check in may be as a follow-up to a previous communication you've sent but haven't heard anything back. So I wanted to follow up on the last message I sent. No worries if you do not have time to do an informational interview. I appreciate your time and consideration of this ask. Take care. For a warm contact, this check-in could be for maintenance. Try to recall life events or experiences of others, supporting them in their own moments or career. So you could say something like, hi, I just wanted to share I completed a sprint on blah, blah, blah topic, and I am now number of weeks away from completing my program name training here at Lambda School. What have you been up to these past few weeks? Last we spoke, you mentioned, what did they mention? Bring that up. How did that go? Looking forward to hearing from you. Take care. We'll practice some of these tips we just covered in class, making you feel more prepared and comfortable to reach out to anyone, warm or cold. See you then.